What's going on, people? Welcome back to Premier League Unpacked, and it's episode 24 for you people. As you can see, it's a little bit of a different setup. We're pre-recording this show as my boy is on holiday, so we don't know what's going to happen with the signal and stuff like that. But hopefully, fingers crossed, it's a clean stream. What are you telling me, my guy? You good?
Bro, I'm living in paradise right now, literally and metaphorically. I got to watch the derby live from the sunshine, which was probably about the only thing better than being in the ground watching it myself. I think that was some United fans in the background running away when they heard me talking about it. Might have been Saeed and them. No joke. Big love to Saeed and the Mandem, but definitely it was a great day. And it was made even better by the fact that I'd been on the flipping United channel just a day or two earlier, giving it a big in.
That's what I wanted to speak to you about, bro. That's what I wanted to say. Well done. As you can see, you went on there and you were shining, fam. You get me? The talent is just there. You get me, bro? You just got to run with this and take over the Man City scene, because I'm telling you now, I watched that United view. There was two videos, obviously the starting lineup and the United, Arsenal and all of that. And to be fair, bro, you did absolutely brilliant for the first time being on something like that on set and podcasting in that kind of way, bro. Yo, you're a credit to your club, bro. So I just wanted to say big up to you, first of all, for even going down, showing up and just killing it off, bro, man. How did you find the experience?
Oh, thanks, bro. I mean, obviously, big love to all the guys over at United View, Flex, and Josh and everyone else over there. It was a great experience. I mean, them man made me feel comfortable. I was comfy anyway. I mean, it's easier to feel comfortable as a City fan at the moment, isn't it? You know, you go to these places and you know that there's only so much pressure that can get applied. But with that being said, I did really enjoy it. It was cool to see the setup that they've got over there. Definitely gave me some food for thought for where we can evolve and take this thing to. And I enjoyed the process. I was a bit easy on them, shall we say. You know, I came with kindness because I knew I was on a United channel. And also it weren't going to make for great content, especially on the combined 11, if I just said, here's the City first 11.
Well, you're better than me, fam, because I would have stuck it all over everyone.
I know. I let him in the door a little bit, but I think, you know, what we seen from the derby on the weekend was that the reality is there isn't a single United player in that team that would get even close to this City team. We're just so much better than them. Like so much better than them. And the funny thing is, you know, as a phenomenal player Haaland is, phenomenal player. He was phenomenal in the derby. I actually said on the United View, I said, you know, don't be surprised if Haaland comes out with a bee in his bonnet, because he knows what the derby is. He knows what happened to his dad in the derby playing for City all them years ago. He's been quite clever and quite tactical as a guy that's one of the best in the world. You don't go around running around talking about, I'm a City fan and I hate United, because you don't know where your career can take you to next. But there's been a lot of rumours that he grew up a City fan. He said himself he grew up a City fan. He definitely grew up watching his dad. He's seen what happened with Keane and his dad. So he knew that talk was going to be around this game, and he knew that he wanted to come and enact some retribution, and that's what we've seen. But what I was going to say is that I think as great as... Go on. I'm letting it go on him. Go on.
Just on that topic, I just seen bare posts, bare comments, people saying Roy Keane should have went for his balls and not his knee, you get me? Because this guy is a machine, bro. And you know what?
Yeah, it was too late.
Haaland, bro, different level, Tom. Just give us all your thoughts on the derby, man. Give us all of your rundown.
Yeah, sorry, I was already letting loose, but it was such a great day. I think what I was going to say on the Haaland point is, I think in some ways, Haaland being as good as he is was a bit of a get out of jail free card for United fans, because I think a lot of United fans after that game tried to fall back on the whole Haaland, he's unplayable. It's Haaland, like anyone with Haaland is going to do that. Do you know what I mean? And the reality is, you know, Haaland obviously is an incredible asset and an incredible addition to this team. But just in every place of the pitch, every part of the pitch, every player on the pitch, we're just light years better than them. I mean, Phil Foden has obviously stepped up to a whole nother level. You know, honourable shout out to him as well. Boyhood City fan. Grew up from Stockport through the City Academy. Imagine what a special day that must have been for him, scoring a hat-trick in the derby at the Etihad. I think we forget sometimes, especially with players like him that are already so accomplished. You know, they've played for England, they've played in Champions League finals, semi-finals. We forget sometimes with the likes of a Foden that deep down he's still a boyhood City fan. He still grew up a blue like me, do you know what I mean? And these moments, some of these moments must cut through in a different way. Do you know what I mean? Even as normal as it is for him now to be on that level, I'm sure that some of these moments must cut through. So big shout out to him. And yeah, I think, you know, obviously 6-3 flattered him. I think if we had a slightly different disposition as a team, you know, once we'd got to half time, or once we got to 5, 6, it could have been 7, 8, 9, 10. Do you know what I mean? It was one of them games. But, you know, he started some rotation later on in the game. He brought some guys on.
He took his foot off the gas a bit, didn't he?
Took his foot off the gas, and he could
sorry, man. He felt sorry for them.
He felt sorry for them. You know,
he's
worked with Ten Hag in the past.
We want 10. We want 10. And he thought, I better hold it in.
He didn't want to get his mate Ten Hag sacked this early in his career. Do you know what I mean? So, but no, you know, in all seriousness, obviously, I think now is the time for United fans to just step back and be quiet a little bit. I think that what it also showed, we already knew that they weren't on City's level, but I think what also this weekend's results showed is that United need to stop talking to Arsenal fans for a while. And I know they hate it. And I know they hate it. They hate it when we do the tag team thing, but really, there's, you know, United had them few little good results, and all of a sudden, you know, United fans were talking about, oh, we're going to finish above Arsenal. We got a better squad than Arsenal. No. No. You're not in that conversation. You're not in that conversation. You got a long way to go. You know what I mean? Long way to go. And, you know, I said in the weeks running up to this derby, it's all good beating Liverpool. It's all good, you know, having a little good run of results. But when you come up against the big boys, things can get unstuck again. And how United respond in this next game that they've got next will show us whether it was just a matter of City blowing them away or whether City revealed some of their true colours and some of the imperfections that are still there. Yeah. I mean, don't know what the situation is with Ronaldo. I was trying to tell United fans at the start of the season, I said to Saeed and that when we had him on the stream before the season began, you got to get rid of that guy. If you don't get rid of that guy, it's going to be a problem. Because I said then and I said now, there's only two scenarios. You either keep him and play him and you continue to have problems, or you keep him and don't play him and he's going to start to cause problems. Now, luckily for them, there's not been too much drama coming out of the camp yet, but this can't last for long. You can't have a man like Ronaldo on the bench for a derby losing.
This is what I was actually having a discussion with Kish about. Obviously, everyone's got their opinions on Ronaldo. Obviously, United fans probably know the situation a lot better than what I do. But personally, for me, I think they made a big mistake not playing Ronaldo and not playing Casemiro, because inside games like this, when it's probably one of your biggest games, you've got to have that level of experience. And albeit he was their leading goal scorer last season, people are saying that, oh, we didn't have the legs and that. But if you actually go and watch every single goal he scored, bro, I'm telling you, you can see there's still talent inside him. Obviously, if there's stuff in the background that we don't know about and he didn't get played, fair enough, I understand. But personally, it was a losing battle anyway. You get me? For me, you get me? You should have just put Casemiro on, should have put Ronaldo on, because in my opinion, Ronaldo's better than Rashford in that position up front anyway. You could have still put 9 players behind the ball and just left him pretty much on the halfway line, and somebody's going to have to mark him, innit? So you're taking one of the City defenders still away from the game, rather than you got Akanji and Nathan Ake just more or less on the edge of their box. You know what I'm saying? It's a madness. It's an absolute madness.
And can we just take a very short moment? We won't stay on them for long, but Ake and Akanji, I think both deserve another honourable shout out. I mean, Akanji came in and a lot of people
like Vincent Kompany, fam.
Bro, who is this guy? A lot of guys thought we'd just got this kind of like 5th choice centre back. He was just like some guy that was going to be there for emergencies, but this guy is looking like bro, he's looking very serious. Sorry,
you know what? He was linked with Arsenal a few years back, to be fair, and I had a look at him. Yeah, I had a look at him, and to be fair, he's got all the physical attributes to play in the Premier League. He's big, he's strong, he's got quick recovery pace, and to be fair, like I'm saying, he just looks like a Vincent Kompany Part 2 to me. Like when he's playing, he just literally fits that mold perfectly. And I think with him coming into the team, it's clearly seen it shored City's defensive issues up when you've got the likes of a Laporte out or what's his name again? Like your other centre back,
Diaz.
Diaz.
I could see him. I could actually see him working himself into being a first choice centre back at City. I mean, Stones is a really good centre back. Laporte's a good centre back. Diaz is a good centre back. I mean, Ake, I think, is actually a really good centre back that would probably get into most of the top teams in the Prem. So all of a sudden, we've gone from, you know, quite a while as City, centre backs was one position on the pitch where we usually had one top centre back, and then another centre-back that wasn't quite at that level. Like, no disrespect to Lescott, but we had company in Lescott. You know, we had guys like Otamendi, you know, in there that weren't bad defenders, but they weren't top of the brass. And all of a sudden, it's like we've got 4 or 5 centre-backs that are just really quality, really assured, that you can trust putting them into a game. So that's obviously an amazing thing.
To be fair, you got that throughout your whole squad now, though, Bish. Like, you could probably beat most Premier League teams with your B team. Do you know what I'm saying?
And you know what?
That's a massive thing, really, when you think about the structure that City have put into play and everything that they've built over the last, say, 10, 12 years. It's just been second to none, really. I don't think there's any club out here that can match the levels of the levels that City have set, really, in this aspects of as soon as they sell someone, they're bringing in the perfect matches. Like, all their data that they need for the players that Pep wants is just absolutely perfect, bro. And they buy one player, they also buy a young player as well. You get me, somebody that can fit the mold.
I was gonna say on the topic of young players, I don't want to jump around too much, but honourable shout out to Rico Lewis, who's 17-year-old that's come through the academy. He had a few starting minutes in a few league games, but he played in the Champions League against Copenhagen and just looked so assured, bro. Like, so confident on the ball. I've seen him play left back in the past. He was playing right back in this game for some of the game. Just looked like he was ready for that level. So like you said, when you've got that level of depth of guys that you've bought in, and then you've got quality coming through the youth team as well, you're spoiled for choice, really. But I think just circling back to the Ronaldo point, I think you're right. And that's kind of, I guess we're agreeing in a way that they've kind of worked himself into a position now where you kind of can't win. Because I kind of understand why they didn't play Ronaldo in a way. I understand the theory behind, you know, we need some pace. We'll have to counter-attack. We're not going to be able to dominate possession. We need someone that's going to give us an outlet, and Ronaldo might have become a little bit isolated. Casemiro, I can't understand. I can't understand why Casemiro didn't play. But this is the problem sometimes when, as a manager, you've got a few good results, and you've managed to get them results.
Sorry, man.
Bro, literally, the United fans just out here trying to sabotage me. This is part of the problem with what happens when you've been getting results not with your best team. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but when you've been getting results through a kind of a makeshift team, you know, you've been getting the best out of a Scott McTominay, you've been getting good stuff out of, you know, a Martial or a Rashford, and then some of your best players, you know, are not playing, or you've not found a way to fit them into the team, then the problem is eventually those other players are going to drop to the level that they're really at. And then you're not going to have a way to incorporate the best players in. I mean, Ten Hag said it would have been disrespectful to bring Ronaldo on at 4-0 down. I think that was a bit of a cop-out. But I can kind of understand a little bit of it as well, which is it's already disrespectful enough that you didn't play him. If you bring him on at 4-0 when there's nothing left really for him to do to affect the game, that doesn't look great either. So you've kind of shot yourself in the foot, really. And I just don't understand why they didn't get rid of him. Another weird decision from United. But yeah, I think for United, you know, they need to take stock from that result. They need to hope that they can bounce back with a win. And they need to try and put together another good string of results and try and maybe push for top 4. I think they need to forget about Arsenal, forget about City, forget about Tottenham, and hope that Liverpool continue to be poor and Chelsea continue to be wobbly, and hope they can find a way to sneak in that way. But it's not looking good.
Do you know what, though, Bish, as well? The one thing I must say as well, if I was a United fan, even though we lost in the fashion that they did lose, if I was a United fan, I'd be looking at it thinking, you know what, most teams this season are going to get absolutely pumped in by City, you get me? So it's how you recover from this game. If they go on now and they can't recover from this game, then it's going to be a pretty much of a long season. I think it's already going to be a long season for them, but it's the bounce back. If they can bounce back the next game against Everton, which is going to be a very tough place to go, because as you know, Everton away, Goodison Park, and over the years, Everton have quite been a bogey team for United. So it's going to be interesting to see whether they can have, if Ten Hag has brought a little bit of a mentality switch to these players, and see if they can actually then go on and gain the 3 points at Goodison, because that's something I'm excited to see. Because with Arsenal, one thing we knew last season, once we lost one game, we'll go on and lose another 2. You get me? This season, we lost one game against United, and my personal opinion, they were very lucky to win that game. Scoreline flattered them, and what did we do? We went back next game and battered Brentford, a team that battered United 4-0. We battered them 3-0, made them suffer their biggest defeat at home. So
yeah,
there is positive signs now. Now we're talking on Arsenal. I don't know if you caught the North London derby at all.
Yeah,
But
I kind of caught. It was similar with both of the games. I had it on the TV by the pool, but it was kind of like breaking up, so I was catching bits and bobs. But I watched the highlights as well, and I watched kind of most of the second half. I was super impressed, man. I mean, I would like to get your thoughts first because I know that you've been watching them closely all season. So did you feel like this was? Did you feel like this was an important moment for Arsenal this season? Was it a
110%,
proven moment?
110%, because you've got all these Tottenham fans chatting the world of shit, bro, before the game, talking about his Antonio Conte's team now and he's beat Nuno's team at home and this, that, and the other. Same old story, man. These guys rolled up to town and got slapped up in it. But the most important thing I wanted to see was the cohesion between the squad in a big game like this, because it's not only a big game on paper, it's a big game in regards to the atmosphere, the mentality, people under pressure. Because, in a derby like this, if you're not performing, best believe, man, are on you, man like me. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
They're on you get me? So it was refreshing to see that they stuck to their plan from the minute get-go. Yeah, Tottenham had a 5-10 minute spell within the game, but it got managed very well. We got the early goal. Obviously, bear in mind, Tottenham got an equaliser just before half-time, and that could have made the boys' heads drop, or it could have changed something. However, that wasn't the case. We came back out half-time, got an early goal again, and it set the tone. Yeah, they got a red card, but best believe my man deserved that red card. You get me? That was a leg breaker. If that was Granit Xhaka, it's going off straight away. And I've mentioned it time and time again. So it can't be one rule for one and one rule for another. But even before he got sent off, we were all over him. We were winning the game anyway. Do you know what I mean? Luckily, they managed to just hold it down to a 3-1 and it wasn't a massive beating. But all in all, bro, happy day at the office. You get me? Stay top of the Premier League table. Now people are saying that, we haven't played any of the big boys. Everyone's been rating Tottenham so highly at the start of the season. Now, what more do you want from us? You get me? We beat teams that have beat United. We've gone away and beat Crystal Palace. You know what I'm saying? We beat Aston Villa, that drew with Jews. So there's a lot of good to take out of this season so far, bro. And if we could just take game by game, take it one step at a time, and just not get too carried away with ourselves as well, Bish, because we know that our squad is a little bit thin. We do get injury to key players like a Partey and a Gabriel Jesus. It is going to become a little bit sticky for us. Now, for me, I'm just waiting forward to January to see if they actually have a little bit of balls about them and go out and sign at least 2 players that can push us and spur us on to definitely cement that fourth and potentially go on and win the Europa League trophy. Because for me, that is the main goal, Tom. That's what we have to do. You get me? But it's nice. Look at us. We're sitting up here. There's Arsenal and City at the top. Bro, Premier League Unpacked is on fire. You know what I'm saying?
Is it a coincidence? Is it not? I don't know. Yeah, no, I think speak to me a little bit about the kind of the evolution of Arsenal back end of the season to Arsenal this season, and in particular in terms of mentality, because you mentioned a little bit about the Tottenham game last season when you beat Nuno's Tottenham, but the other Tottenham game and the most recent Tottenham game was obviously the Tottenham game at the back end of the season last year, when the kind of implosion at Arsenal was happening, and ultimately a game that kind of lost you guys 4th place or won Tottenham 4th place in a lot of ways. So psychologically, there was a lot to be seen from this game in terms of what was the hangover from that result. Was that going to be still playing heavy on the mind of these Arsenal players? And especially, like you said, with Tottenham getting that equaliser, I did have a moment where I thought, okay, this is gonna. I didn't doubt Arsenal at any moment, but I did have a moment going into half time where I thought, okay, now we're really going to get to see how or if the mentality has changed. Do you know what I mean?
Last season, I think just to answer parts of that question, I'll answer it all over the place, but I'll try to stick to it because obviously I can't remember exactly in order. Yeah. But if we're talking about the Tottenham Arsenal game that more or less lost us the 4th spot, do you know what? The difference, we kept 11 fuckers on the pitch, bro. You get me? Because people tend to forget that Rob Holding was sent off in that game pretty early on as well. So it's one of them situations where we do normally tend to get a man sent off, especially away from home in the big games. We've done it against Chelsea, done it against United, done it against a lot of the teams, bro. Done it against Hughes last season, Granit Xhaka. early. You get me? So that is the main difference that I can see, that the way we're managing games now, not being rash, not just diving in for the sake of it. Each player is fighting for each other. So if one player makes a little bit of a mistake, he doesn't have to come back and just absolutely chop a man down because there's another player there for cover.
Someone else is going to come through. Yeah.
Most importantly as well, I think Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, and William Saliba coming into this team has been massive, bro. The mentality from Zinchenko and Jesus, you can clearly see these guys ain't looking to just leave City and rest on their laurels. These guys are winners and they want to win. And if you hear Aaron Ramsdale and a few other Arsenal players that have been, having a few interviews here and there, they say the same thing. These two guys have brought the level up immensely. Now with William Saliba, bro, this guy's looking like one of the best centre-backs in the league already. He's 21 years old. You get me?
Absolutely.
And he has contrasted Gabriel perfectly because we know Gabriel's got a mistake in him. We know Gabriel's a little bit rash at times. The one thing Saliba gives us is he gives us composure. He gives us that time on the ball where he looks effortless. You get me? You got my man nutmegging Oliver, skipping the box and all that. It's a mad thing.
Class composure.
Centre backs with that ability at their feet, and he's got the stature for the Premier League. He's got the pace on the recovery as well. So him coming into the back line has allowed us to play further up the pitch as well. It's allowed us to put our defenders a little bit further up the pitch because we're confident now that if a ball does come up back over, we've got 2 6'4+ guys, got good recovery that can deal with it. So,
going into January. Just while you're speaking about centre backs, going into January, are you happy with Gabriel and Saliba as your first choice back two, or would you like to see Arsenal go out and find someone else that can partner Saliba, or at least compete with Gabriel to partner him? Because I've been really impressed with Gabriel. I had him in my fantasy league at the start of the season. He's a threat going forwards as well, isn't he? As well as I think he scored the most goals out of any defender last season. But now that he's next to Saliba, a little bit like I said with Lescott and company earlier, Lescott was a really good centre back for us and was a really good defender, had a good career. But sometimes then when you've got someone who's world class next to them, and I think Saliba, even if it's too early now to say that he's world class, I think that it's only a matter of time until he's a cemented world-class player. It's only a matter of time until he's, France's first-choice centre-back, maybe captain. Like, that's the kind of player we're looking at here. Once you then put Gabriel next to him, I wouldn't say that Gabriel doesn't look good enough, but you see a little bit of the gap between him and Saliba. You notice the mistakes that Gabriel makes compared to the kind of almost flawless performances that we get from Saliba. So do you think that that's being unfair to Gabriel, or would you like to see Arsenal go out and add another centre-back?
You know what? Yeah, you can say that with Saliba, how good Saliba is, he's actually showing the imperfections in Gabriel's game. But what we need to understand is Gabriel is only 24 years of age. You get me? He's still a very young centre-back. He's a full international with Brazil, and he has been one of our best centre-backs over the last season or so. So we can't just look at it and think, right, we have to go in and get another world-class centre-back, because there's not that many centre-backs that are left-footed right now that I would say is better than Gabriel, or I would put forward instead of Gabriel, because now we've got a right-sided centre-back who is looking like he's going to be world-class. And for me, personally, I can already see that level of world-class in him. You got Gabriel, who's still young, 24. He might be rash at times, but he's hard, bro. He's hard as nails. You get me? And I think we do need that balance in defence as well, because if we did worse come to worse and we needed to put in another quality centre back, we can take Gabriel out, put Ben White in centre back, and put Tomiyasu at right back, which can fill the void. Now we do have Rob Holding there as well. Personally, do we need to improve on Rob Holding? Yes, we do. If that means Rob Holding go out in January and we can bring somebody else in, great. But it has to be someone that's going to be better than Rob Holding and also willing to play that bit part role. The most important thing of all is to tie Saliba down to a new contract, bro. Because if we don't
10-year contract, get him signed up to a 10-year deal.
Yo, bro, I'm telling you, man are going to be snapping up to take him. Man are going to be lining up and they're going to be looking. You got Mbappe coming out here saying, yo, Saliba's absolutely solid. You know what I mean? So
I was going to say, I could see a PSG just come in and swoop in and saying, look, He's French. Tempt him back to France. Do you know? Try get him sucked in by that kind of Paris appeal. Like Arsenal need to lock this guy down, where it's like, right, he's there now for the next 5 years in place. Do you know what I mean? You do not want a situation where you let him slip through your fingers and then you're watching him become the world's best centre back somewhere else. Like that's too, because I think this guy could be the best centre back in the world in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
If Van Dijk continues to struggle to get back to that level, and if Diaz, you know, kind of plateaus a little bit, Saliba has the qualities to potentially be better than both of them, which sounds crazy to say. He gives you like Desailly vibes, bro. Like he's that French.
21, man.
Yeah. No, he's a monster.
Bro. Like it's like when I'm do you know what? Yeah, normally I'm fearing teams like obviously, don't get me wrong, I am fearing to play City, you get me, but it's giving me a little bit more belief, thinking, you know what, I'm actually excited to see how Haaland and Saliba tussle it down and how they actually play against each, because they're two both young. What is Haaland 21 as well?
Round that might be 22 now, but he's round that range. I'll fact check that while we're talking. Yeah.
And when we talk about progression over the next 10 years or two, these two guys are going to be probably one of the best centre backs, and if not the best forward in the world. You get me? So it's going to be good to see how they jostle it up in the Premier League right now. So I'm looking forward to that. But we're going to move on to Liverpool as well shortly, because we are actually playing Liverpool next, Bish.
Yes.
I want to get your thoughts on Liverpool. Obviously, they've been your sparring partner for the last few seasons, you know, going toe-to-toe with you. And to be fair, I got to give them credit, because they haven't spent that crazy amount of money that, say, United, City, or even Arsenal have in recent years. But they've managed to buy correctly. They've had a good manager in place. And maybe you could say he's overachieved at certain aspects. But it looks like the wheels are falling off at the moment with Liverpool. It looks like they're getting quite a bit of burnout. The loss of Sadio Mane looks massive to that team. What you take from Liverpool at the moment?
So, sorry, bro, got caught for a second there. With Liverpool, I think I've been saying since the start of the season, I think that they're going into a rebuild. Really, I think Mane going was bigger than a lot of us thought. I know it's Liverpool fans are getting bored of hearing us say this. You know, none of us really realised how good Mane was, but this guy obviously has left a real hole behind where he's gone. Not just on the pitch, but clearly maybe he's left a hole behind in terms of experience, in terms of, you know, players on the pitch that are winners. You spoke before about Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko and that kind of winning mentality. You lose that when you lose a Mane and you bring in guys like Nunes, you bring in guys like Diaz, who, you know, Diaz looks like an exceptional football player, but you're not bringing in an experienced winner that's done it time and time again in this league. So, but then also in the middle of the park, they look aged, they look leggy. They've got that issue of a team which is not only an aging team, but a team that's been run into the ground in recent years. You know, we speak sometimes on this show about how Klopp's rock and roll football, there is a downside to it. And, you know, a couple of years ago when Liverpool had that season where they had a load of injuries and they dropped off massively and they kind of blamed it on injuries, they acted like it was bad luck. And what a lot of us other fans were trying to say was, that's not bad luck. This is the results of that rock and roll football. If you just play pretty much the same 11 players, maybe one or two players coming off the bench, week in, week out, in some high intensity, kind of volatile, you know, high speed football, then you're going to get injuries, you're going to get wear and tear. So when you combine that with a midfield with guys like Fabinho, guys like Henderson, that really have looked like they were on the edge of being past it for a few years, but in fairness to them, have proved us wrong, have continued to perform at the highest level, even when some guys outside of Liverpool, myself included, weren't that impressed or convinced by them. I think now the time is up on some of those players, and I think they've hit a situation where they now have to rebuild to replace players that have left, replace players that are aging, and they've got too many players that were instrumental in the success they've had in recent years that have either gone or need to go. That means that it's not going to be an instant rebuild. Do you know what I mean? And that's where, you know, sometimes you talk about City and the way that City move as a club and the kind of long-sightedness, you know, and how other clubs basically are trying to catch up with that. As much as they're trying to catch up with the football on the pitch, they're trying to catch up with the quality of how the club is run, with that kind of long-sighted mentality where we're trying to avoid ever a situation where everything catches up with you at once. You're trying to avoid a situation where a Ferguson leaves and you can't get the right manager through the door for 10 years. You're trying to avoid a situation where a team gets old and you need to replace 4 or 5 players and you're now having to replace them all at once, and it's too much to do all at once. You know, at City, you see them a lot of time getting rid of legends, City legends, before we're ready to say goodbye. And it's hard at the time. You know, Sterling goes when City fans maybe don't quite want to say goodbye. Even Aguero, I wasn't all the way ready to say goodbye to Aguero yet. But a lot of these guys will leave or be replaced before it feels like it's their time. But it's because they want to avoid a situation like what Liverpool have got now, where you've got 4 or 5 guys that need replacing in the squad. And until they do get replaced, they're gonna, a lot of their weak points that have been able to be covered up by the style of football they play are being revealed now. Alexander-Arnold is a terrible defender. He's a great attacking player. He's a terrible defender. That has been protected by the style of football that Liverpool have played for years. Do you know what I mean? They've played such an attacking style of football. I've even heard Gary Neville say before, when he spoke about being a right back, and he said, you know, sometimes as a full back, one of the best ways that you can protect yourself against a really good winger is if your team are on the attack. So now instead of Saka running at you, you're running at him as the right back running at a left back. And if your team can kind of maintain that pressure, then you take this really good winger and you turn them into a not so great defender, basically, that's having to defend against you. And that's what Alexander-Arnold's been able to do for years. He's been part of a Liverpool team that's been able to put teams under so much pressure that he's been able to be the attacker. Yeah. And he's not really been under pressure too much. And now we're seeing what happens when Liverpool aren't able to maintain that pressure, when they don't have the same balance on either side that they had with Mane and Salah. And he's just getting found out week in, week out, you know.
Now, you know what, Bish? I agree with you. Sorry to cut you.
No, go. I was waffling.
The one thing I want to quickly ask you as well. Do you reckon it might be better suited converting him into a winger?
You know what? I hadn't thought of it until you said it then, but maybe it is the time to have that conversation about Alexander-Arnold at Liverpool. Maybe it's time for them to talk about...
Just imagine they could put Salah on the left, Trent on the right, and get a solid right back in there. Obviously, it might be changing the structure of play, but do you reckon something like that could work? Or do you think Salah won't be able to perform the same on the left as he is on the right?
It looks like they need a rebuild, doesn't it? It looks like, and maybe part of that rebuild might have... And this is where we'll see what Klopp's capable of, because, you know, Klopp has, and in fairness to him, he's earned this right, but Klopp has been put in that conversation with Pep Guardiola in recent years. But what we've seen Pep do, which is now maybe separating him from the likes of Klopp, is we've seen him build and rebuild different City teams in his time at City. And not just different in terms of personnel, but increasingly we're seeing City teams which are quite different in terms of style of play. Yeah. And if you're not a proper football fan, or not a City fan, or not someone that watches closely enough, you might miss it. But these different versions of City that we're seeing under Pep are actually playing quite different football. Obviously, it's all under the Pep philosophy, but the style and the you know, the type of fullbacks that you have, or the type of wingers that you have, or the type of whether you have, you know, we've got the most obvious example now being having the world's most out and out number 9, and for seasons before that having no number 9. Like, I think for Klopp, it's not just about replacing these players, it's about, can you adapt the style? Can you take an Alexander-Arnold and find a new home for him at right wing or in midfield? You know, midfield is, I don't know if he has all of the qualities to play in midfield. I don't watch him on the training ground enough to know if he's got those qualities, but actually that's where they look more thin than on the wings. They have got a bit of depth up top. You know, they've got Jota, they've got Nunez coming back. Diaz looks like a good player. Salah's obviously a phenomenal player that can play either side. For me, it's in that middle of the park where they're now starting to look
very
old and leggy. And even the top players that they've got in the middle of the park, like a Thiago, he's old and leggy. So if they could take him and turn him into a midfield player, I mean, that would be amazing. But then maybe you lose that wide threat that he offers you. It's hard for me to see him being a winger in that Liverpool squad, just because he's so different to what Salah is on the other side. So it's hard to see how you would get that balance unless they become very rigid in terms of he plays on this side, he plays on that side. And increasingly for these top clubs, they don't play like that. They have to have some level of movement where Salah can drift over to the other side and switch over. And I don't know whether Alexander-Arnold has all of the facilities to be able to just drift across the pitch into a left-sided role or find himself down the middle up front. Like, what happens if what happens if Arnold is suddenly through on goal? Like, is he that guy to break free from the defence and finish it? I don't know. That's asking him to do something different. But if Liverpool could change the style and have him as a Beckham-esque type right midfielder, right winger, then you would like to think that he has all of the
attributes to fit that role.
Because or maybe they have to switch to a five at the back. Maybe
he can actually defend, and it's not like he might not be the greatest defending, but if he was a right winger, the one thing he's going to do is come back on the defense. It's just naturally suited in his game to fall into that position. So the way I see it is, the one thing about Trent is he's got an absolute brilliant finish. He's got a deadly ball to whip into the box. They've now got a big player like Núñez up front. Maybe that could obviously help them out in that situation. You get me? Maybe you can put a Salah in up front, give him the option up front as well. Maybe put a Jota on the left or Jota up front and Salah on the left. Maybe it might be something that they might look into. But
could they go 5 at the back? Maybe they could go 5 at the back. They could put that, maybe with 3 centre backs across the back, especially now because that Canute is it? Canute?
Yeah,
he looks like a really good centre back. Obviously, Van Dijk is Van Dijk. Gomez has been exposed quite a lot as one of a 2 at the back, but maybe him as part of a back 3, the right side of a back 3, and then Arnold as the right wing back. Maybe that would protect Gomez and Arnold a little bit. I mean, I don't know what that would mean going forward for the rest of the pitch. Maybe Salah would have to play a more central role, but something has to happen over there. I think I spoke to a Liverpool fan out here during the Derby game, and I said, so what, is top 4 gone? And he said, yeah, long gone. He said, we'll be lucky to get top 6 this season. He thinks it's going to be one of those proper implosion seasons that Liverpool have had over the years, and that United and a few other teams have had, where it's like you have a season where you come 7th or 8th and then you have to try and bounce back. And Arsenal, it happens. If you've not got that squad depth and you don't plan in advance, you can just have one of them seasons where you drop right down, and then you have to try and bounce back next season to be a top 3, top 2 contender again. But do you think that Liverpool? Do you think Liverpool will be able to put together the form to get in the top 4 this season? And if not, do you think they'll be able to bounce back next season and be back to title contenders, top 3 contenders, or do you think it's been and gone?
Well, first of all, we'll use this bit as the last part of the segment, because obviously
we've given Liverpool a lot of airtime.
Give it a bit of short and sweet as well, because obviously you know that you're on holiday, and first of all, I appreciate your time, Tom, for even just stepping out and doing this, because when you're on holiday, man can't be asked doing nothing. You get me, fam? You just want to enjoy the sun. But obviously, I know time's getting a bit ticky now, and obviously we're gonna have to end the stream shortly. But just going on to that, bro, I think you're right. I think Liverpool are a very aging side. They're gonna be struggling to. I think they will get top 4. I think they will get top 4. I think it will be a struggle. I don't think it'll be a walk in the park for them getting top 4. It's still very early in the season to fully write them off, because players are going to have to come back, like Canate as well. And to be fair, like we said, he's a very good centre-back. And sometimes things can click a little bit later on in the season, like we've seen with City over the last couple of years. But with Liverpool right now, I think they will get top 4. I think it'll be a struggle for them to get it, though. And what was the second part of your question again?
And what do you see there being a bounce?
Oh, just lost you there, right, bro? I think you were going to say, is there going to be a bounce back, people? For that? Oh, you're back with us now.
Oh, don't know what happened there. I thought you'd left me. I was saying, do you see there being a bounce back next year? Do you see them being back to title contenders, top 3
contenders? It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult because next season, the likes of Arsenal, if we carry on the way we're carrying on and we can add and recruit well, then it's going to take some time for other teams to reach back up to that. I'm not saying we're going to be the be all and end all, but you're going to look at Tottenham. They're going to probably strengthen next season. You look at Chelsea, they've got a new owner. They're going to strengthen next season. With Liverpool, historically, they don't spend the most amount of money. They spend money that comes into the club. So whether they can financially keep up with the pace like FSG, what I put the hand in the pocket and put some money out, then anything's possible, because they're not a shit side. They've competed for a number of years now. They've got a quality manager. But I just answering that question, I think it will be harder next season to bounce back because just the teams around at the moment, everyone's looking to strengthen. Everyone's looking. Look at United as well. They have to do something, man. They have to do something.
They're coming, aren't they? Probably. Can I before we do go? I know we're gonna make a move in a minute. But before, can I just double back to some prediction talk? You know, because we've not been on for a few weeks, with predictions. First of all, what's your prediction for the top 4 today after this weekend? What do you see the top 4 at the end of the season being?
Do you know what? I can see it being, it's changed a little bit in my opinion now, because with Conte, you know, I really rate the manager. I think he's a top quality manager. Whether I feel like the players that he's got now can fully understand his role and his tactics and nail him down to the ground, that's another question, because of late, especially in that North London derby, we see they tried to employ them tactics. It just clearly didn't work. And when they come up against better footballing sides, even like a side like Brighton, they might come unstuck. You get me? I feel like it's going to be City, Arsenal, obviously no particular order. City, Arsenal, I think Liverpool, and I think it's going to be Tottenham. I'll put Tottenham in this conversation of Tottenham and Chelsea to be scrapping it out for that 4th spot, bro, because I can't see United doing it. I don't think they have enough in their locker now. I think they're on a bit of a rebuild surface at the moment. But yeah, bro, what about yourself?
I think, when I was on the United View the other day, I said City first, Arsenal second, Tottenham third, and I said United 4th at the time. But partly just because I couldn't really wrap my brain to think who I thought would take that 4th space, and I did feel like United were starting to put together a bit of form. I think now my top 3 stays the same. City, Arsenal, Tottenham, but I think now I'm gonna drop. It's Liverpool or Chelsea for me now, getting that 4th place. I'm hesitant with Chelsea because I just don't know if Graham Potter will be able to get that consistency. So I might just give Liverpool the benefit of the doubt. But my gut wants to say Chelsea right now. Wants to say City, Arsenal. But I think City, Arsenal, Tottenham are going to run away with top 3. I think there'll be a big gap that will start to form between those. And maybe even City and Arsenal start to create some space between them and Tottenham. Which I think is important for Arsenal, because I think it's important for them to be looking forward on the title race and not looking over their shoulder coming into the back end of the season. So long may the winning run continue for both of our clubs. And Premier League Unpacked will continue to be a fun place to be.
No, you know what, Tom? Like I said, I appreciate you giving man this time, especially being on holiday, and people that are in. Well, I was going to say people that are in the chat because I'm so used to being live with this stream. Yeah, but people that are watching this video, make sure that you're smashing a like on the video as it helps push the algorithms. It's free of fucking charge, man. So just hit the like. It costs nothing. You get me? If you're ready to jump in, smash the like, people. And also, if you're new, you know what to do. Subscribe. Make sure you go and follow my guy Bish on Instagram, Thoughts of Bishop. Bish, I think. Thoughts of Bish, innit? Have I got it right?
That's the one. Thoughts of Bish. Hopefully they can see it somewhere on the screen. But yeah,
I'm gonna put it up now for the
City content is coming soon. I know Prem's been saying it for a while. I've just been kind of smiling and nodding along, but we have got some stuff in the works. A few things that hopefully people haven't seen before in this space. So Premzy's been inspiring me, been pushing me, and definitely we're going to have some dope City content coming soon. So hopefully by the next Premier League Unpacked or one of the episodes soon, I will have all of the details of the YouTube channel for you guys to jump over, subscribe, help me get off the ground. I appreciate all the Premier League Unpacked family.
You're going to sail with flying colours. I'm telling you now for a fact, bro. Your football knowledge is second to none. Your delivery is absolutely brilliant. And you know what, bro? I've known you since young. What a top guy, man. And that's all I can say, people. So make sure you follow Bish and you support the thing, because this guy, he deserves every bit of it. Let me tell you that much for free, people. But peace and love, and we'll see you on the next one, people.
Much love.